Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss our long-form deep dives into the biggest stories in Turkish entertainment. Today we're unpacking a rumor that refuses to be just a rumor anymore. Elçin Sangu has openly said she wants to collaborate with Barış Arduç on a film, and that single spark has set the industry whispering, the fandom plotting dream casts, and producers checking calendars. What would it look like if two of the most effortlessly charismatic actors of their generation found the right script, the right director, and the right moment to meet on the big screen? Let's trace the timeline, the possibilities, and the stakes. The first tremor didn't arrive with a poster or a press release. It arrived as a sentence, simple, unforced, and impossible to misread. Asked about future roles, Elçin Sangu spoke about stories that lit beyond trend and tempo, and then she said it plainly, she would love to share a film with Barış Arduç if the material felt honest. One sentence, and the internet did what it does best, clipped, shared, translated, and amplified. Within hours, threads imagined genres, locations, color palettes, and scores. Inside that noise was something worth listening to, a collective memory of how these two hold a frame together and a hunger to see that chemistry evolve in a medium with different rules. On the industry side, the reaction was quieter but no less energetic. Conversations that had been informal suddenly had reason to solidify. Development teams pulled long-stalled outlines back onto the table. Directors who admire performance over spectacle floated what-if pages. Cinematographers with a weakness for natural light asked to see pages. The rule was simple: if the film existed, it had to be worthy of the reunion. Not nostalgia, not a reheat of familiar beats, but a grown story, two actors with more miles on the odometer and a script that knows what to do with that mileage. What shape could that story take? Three lanes keep resurfacing. Lane 1 is a modern romantic drama with wit just sharp enough to draw blood. Not the easy love that sails through obstacles, but a precise portrait of two people who are excellent alone and terrified of being average together. The script would rely on silence as much as dialogue, scenes where a look confesses what words refuse to say, where a hand reaching for a door decides to stay. Elçin Sangu's gift for controlled vulnerability meets Barış Arduç's ability to register thought in micromovements. In this lane, the climax is not a speech, it's a decision. Lane 2 is a slow-burn mystery with emotional stakes. Think of intersecting lives drawn together by a single event, a missing letter, a dead ode, a truth postponed for too long. Here, the pair would play not lovers at first, but reluctant allies. Their banter becomes a tool, their mistrust a resource, their respect something they earn scene by scene. Lighting leans toward dusk tones, the camera favors long takes, and the music leaves breath where another film would pour strings. When romance finally enters, it arrives with the authority of earned trust, not the sugar of convenience. Lane 3 is a period piece set close enough to feel familiar and far enough to justify reinvention. Costumes that imply character before a word is spoken. Social rules that pressure choices until they reveal who people are. A city that feels like a third lead. In this version, Elçin and Barış don't chase each other, they circle, constrained by duty, pulled by desire, and finally forced to choose whether dignity means obedience or dissent. If this lane lands, it travels globally. The faces are local, the stakes are universal. While the internet blueprints genres, the practical machine keeps grinding. Every significant pairing lives and dies by three calendars: shoot, press, and life. A script can be perfect and still fail if the schedules refuse to align. Producers test windows. Agents guard sanity. Meanwhile, the smartest creative teams start small, a closed-door table read with a few trusted ears, followed by a stripped-down camera test to find the grammar of the film. Will the camera sit and let the actors move through it? Or will it track with them, admitting that the lens itself is a participant? You can feel answers to questions like these before you can articulate them. When Elçin Sangu and Barış Arduç stand opposite each other, the set either tightens or relaxes. The right project will relax. Marketing plans already sketch themselves, not because hype is the goal, but because tone must be defended. A single black and white still. No logline. Two profiles almost touching, eyes turned away, a sliver of light between them. A 30-second teaser 3 weeks later, no dialogue, just the sound of a kettle finishing its breath, a key turning, steps on a stair, a door left open exactly as far as trust will allow. The poster resists a scream. It prefers a question. The headline is not their names, it's the mood. Fans, for their part, are making the case in ways executives can measure. Edits reframe old scenes as proof of range, Elson's bone-dry comedic snap cut against Barry's restrained dramatic gravity, then both reversed to show elasticity. Comment sections read like mini-rooms, suggestions for an ending that avoids cliché, pleas to keep ADR minimal, calls to protect a two-shot that holds for a full minute. Beneath the enthusiasm is a surprisingly sober demand: do not mistake anticipation for permission to rush. If it takes time to get the pages right, we can wait. And yet, there is an elephant everyone politely steps around. The line between honoring a legacy and being trapped by it. The last thing a reunion needs is a nostalgia tax. The first thing it needs is a story that assumes audiences grew up, too. That means trusting discomfort, cutting punchlines that flatter at the expense of truth, and finding stakes grown people recognize, careers that cost, families that pull, histories that don't disappear when the camera says cut. The reunion is not the headline. The headline is whether a film can earn quiet in a market that rewards noise. Let's peek at the workshop phase, the place where a film succeeds or fails long before a slate ever claps. The pair reads a scene meant to look ordinary, two people cleaning up after company, trading the sort of remarks that would bore a stranger and devastate a careful listener. The first take is fine. The second take finds tempo. The third take discovers the beat where one character almost apologizes and chooses not to, yet. That hesitation becomes the film's engine. You can build 2 hours around a choice like that if you have actors who can carry subtext without leaking it. This is where Elson Sangu and Barry's Arctic tend to thrive, the minimal gesture that shifts the room. Production design follows suit. Objects that feel lived in instead of placed. A couch with an honest sag. A wall with paint that remembers the last color. A kitchen drawer where cutlery is exactly organized because some character needs one small corner of the world to obey. Wardrobe supports without announcing itself, scuffs that mean something, silhouettes that change when the character believes in themselves again. Sound design stays out of the way until it refuses to, a door that closes too softly, a window that lets the city insist on its existence, a phone that vibrates for too long before someone decides to answer. If all of this sounds meticulous, that's because it has to be. Chemical pairings invite lazy writing, the audience fills gaps the script should fill. The antidote is precision. Put weight on what you want us to remember. Cut what flatters the actors but betrays the people they play. Let silence be dialogue. Let an exit be a monologue. The film that respects its viewers will be the film that travels. What about the question everyone pretends not to ask but always does: will the personal invade the professional? The answer is the same it has always been for these two. They are colleagues first, protective of their lives second, uninterested in nourishing a rumor mill that eats what it celebrates. The healthiest outcome is also the most likely: press that talks about craft, performances that make gossip feel small, and a wall between set and home that nobody tries to breach. You can be generous in public and still keep a private center. In fact, that's often how the best work gets made. Let's map a plausible rollout. Development locks a script that prefers consequence to twist. A director who knows how to stage stillness signs on. A 6-week shoot respects stamina. The first audience is tiny and trusted, notes are arguments about frames, not about fears. When it's ready, a festival slot with a reputation for listening, not shouting. If the room goes quiet in the right places, you know the cut is honest. If the last 30 seconds feel earned, you know the film deserves an afterlife beyond opening weekend. And if it doesn't happen now? If schedules snarl, if a window closes, if a page refuses to work? The desire doesn't disappear. It matures. The next time Elson Sangu says she wants to work with Baris Arctic, it will mean the same thing it means today, a promise to wait for a story that deserves both of them. That's not a consolation prize. That's a strategy. So here is our invitation to you. If you were in the room, what film would you place in their hands? A two-hander about forgiveness? A mystery that redeems itself by telling the truth at the last possible second? A period piece that risks a difficult ending because history rarely cleans up after itself? Tell us in the comments. Your best ideas echo into rooms you'll never see. If this deep dive gave you a clearer view of what's possible and what should be protected, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, like this video, and consider joining for members-only breakdowns where we track development cycles, talk to craftspeople who shape the work, and keep the focus where Elson Sangu and Baris Arctic have always kept it, on stories built to last. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.